Hello and welcome to today's second video of the 21st of the 7th 2015 Roman dates. Today's message will be on tithing and about whether it's was actually given for us of this this post-covenant era, or whether it was just a pre-Advent era. So let's begin. What common verses used when saying one must tithe? Is it scriptural? Let's examine the fact. So one of the common scriptures used, is Leviticus 27:30 is one of the common scriptures used. We're going to examine 30 to 34 in total, but let's start at 30, the one that's commonly used. And all the tithe of the land, of the seed of the land, of the fruit of the tree belongs to Yahweh. It is set apart to Yahweh. One of the most common verses used would be this one. There are many, but I wish to examine them all. Let's look at this in context. Leviticus 27:30. And all the tithes of the land, of the seed of the land, of the fruit of the tree belongs to Yahweh. It is set apart to Yahweh. Leviticus 27:31. If a man indeed redeems any of his tithes, he adds 1/5 to it. And the entire tithe of the herd and of the flock and all that passes under the rod, the 10th one is set apart to Yahweh. He does not inquire whether it is good or spoil, nor does he exchange it. And if he exchanges it at all, then both it and the one exchanged for it are set apart. It is not redeemed. These are the commands which Yahweh commanded Moses for the children of Israel of Mount Sinai. If we look at these, we'll see that these are one of the 323 Mosaic laws of the pre-Advent scriptures, which, as you would know, a lot of these were done away with when Yahushua died on the gallows cross. And as you would know, he came not to do away with the law, which is not all laws. The commandments still stand, and some others, but a lot were done away with, especially when it comes to food and what was grown on the land in Israel. There was a tithing to Yahweh for the storehouse. There are 16 verses from 11 chapters and 8 books, from Leviticus 27 to Laqua 11, which describes the contents of the special honouring tithe of the Father, and those contents never included money, silver, gold, or anything other than food from inside Israel. Yet the incorrect definition of tithe as the first tenth of income is the greatest error being preached about today. So let's examine these verses, because it was a Levitical priest tithe, and as I'll explain later, it's not it's not a post-Advent command to pay a tithe. It is also not a sin to give to what Yahweh wants you to bless, but it must be from him as to where and if you need to tithe. So let's look at Numbers, starting at Numbers, and we'll be going through from there. So Numbers 18:27 and 28. And your contribution shall be reckoned to you as grain from the threshing floor and as filling from the winepress. Thus you also present a contribution unto Yahweh from all your tithes which you receive from the children of Israel. And you shall give from it the contribution to Yahweh to Aaron the priest. Deuteronomy 12:17. You are not allowed to eat within your gates the tithe of your grain, or of your new wine, or of your oil, or the firstlings of your herd or your flock, or any of your offerings which you vow, or of your voluntary offerings, or of your contributions of your hand. But eat them before Yahweh, your mighty ones, Elohim, in the place which Yahweh, your mighty ones, Elohim, chooses. You and your son and your daughter and your male servant and your female servant and your Levite, who is within your gates, and who shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim in all that you put your hands to. I'm painting a big picture of what this tithe was and looked like for the Israelites to the Levitical priests, or the Levites. Deuteronomy 14:22. You shall tithe without fail all the yield of your grain that fields bring forth year by year. 23. And you shall eat before Yahweh, your mighty ones, Elohim, in the place where he chooses to make his name dwell. The tithe of your grain, and your new wine, and your oil, and all the firstlings of your herds and of your sheep, so that you learn to fear Yahweh, your mighty ones, Elohim, always. Deuteronomy 26:12 and 13. When you have completed tithing all the tithe of your increase in the third year, which is the year of tithing, and of giving to the Levite, to the stranger, to the fatherless, and to the widow, and they have eaten within your gates, and have been satisfied. Now let's look at that. The tithing went to the stranger, to the fatherless, to the widow, and to the Levite, which was the priest. The Levite priest. And they have eaten within the gates and have been satisfied. See, this was given to the poor. And the Levites, obviously, they would have shared what they were given to the poor, which they only were required to be given 1% of this 10% that was given to these. That was given to the other 9% were given to the fatherless, to the widows, to those that were poor and had nothing. So 13. Then you shall say before Yahweh, your mighty ones, Elohim, I have put away the set apart portion from my house, and have also given to the Levite, and to the stranger, and to the fatherless, and to the widow, according to all your command which you have commanded me. I have not transgressed your commands, nor have I forgotten. It was an offering pleasing to Yahweh, to give of your excess crops and cattle to those around you, to your fellow Israelites. 2 Chronicles 31:5. And as the word spread, the children of Israel bought large quantities of the first fruits of grain, and wine, and oil, and honey, and all of the increase of the field, and they brought in the tithe of all, a large amount. And the children of Israel and Yehudah, those who dwelt in the cities of Yehudah, brought the tithe of cattle and sheep, even the tithe set apart gifts, which were set apart to Yahweh, their mighty ones, Elohim, were brought in, and they gave heaps. So in these were given because of the increase, because the Father gave them increase when growing these fields in this honoured land, in this set apart land of Israel, and He never accepted any. They never took any offerings from outside of Israel, only within the gates of Israel, and this is what Scripture says. So Nehemiah 10:37. And that we should bring the first fruits of our dough, and of our contributions, and of the fruit from all kinds of trees, of new wine and of oil, to the priests, to the storerooms of the house of our Elohim, Almighty Ones, and the tithes of our land to the Levites, for the Levites should receive the tithes in all our rural towns. And he had prepared for, Nehemiah 13:5, and he had prepared for him a large room, where previously they had stored the grain offerings, the frankincense, and the utensils, and the tithes of grain, the new wine and the oil, which were commanded to be given to the Levites, and to the singers, and to the gatekeepers, and to the contributions for the priest. So just there you'd see that if obviously this 10% was still deemed today, you'd be given to the assembly, and the assembly would have to give to the deacons, you would have to give to the doorman, you would have to give to the musicians, and you would have to give to everybody else, and which obviously is not happening, because they're saying that the storehouse is the church, which the storehouse is not the church or the assembly. Another one they're using is Malachi. So let's look at Malachi 3:8. Would a man rob mighty ones, Elohim? Yet you are robbing me. But you said, in what have we robbed you? In the tithe and the offering. Malachi 3:9. You have cursed me with a curse, for you are robbing me, this nation, of all of it. So this was talking about this nation, which was Israel. Bringing out the tithes into the storehouse, and let there be food in my house, and please provide me in this, said Yahweh of hosts, whether I do not open for you the windows of heaven, and shall pour out the boundless blessing. See, he was multiplying their crops and multiplying their stock, so they were able to give of their stock and of their crops to obviously those that didn't have much, and obviously to the priests that never the Levite priests of that day that lived in the town and shared what they were given anyway to the poor. So that was what it was given for. He was speaking to this nation of Israelites about the tithes to Yahweh, the one that the Levites had to do at this time, one of the laws that were done away with when the personhood Yahushua abolished it. The glad tidings according to Matthew chapter 23. Howdy to you, scribes and Pharisees, roll fakers, because you pay tithes of the mint and of the incense and of the dill, but you have left aside heavy matters of the law, the judgment and the kindness and the fidelity. These were necessary to perform and not to be leaving aside. See, they were, as Yahushua had said here in Matthew, that obviously, they were giving all their things as in justification of works, or giving as justification for salvation, which is the same thing that they're trying to claim today. But obviously, it isn't so. It was for the Levites, and it was for the poor, and it was for the old times. Assembly's never about a building. Assembly can be out in the bush. Assembly can be in a park. Assemblies are in these places, but it's all about the building these days, and that they've got to have these big buildings, and therefore you've got to pay these tithings and that, which unless they're Levitical priests, they're not entitled to. So the pure glad tidings according to Luke chapter 11. Nevertheless, howdy to you, to the Pharisee, because ye pay tithes of the mint and of the rue and of every herb, yet ye bypass the judgment and the affectionate love of Yahweh. These are things that ought to be being done, and these are not being rejected. According to Numbers 18:25-28 and Nehemiah 10:38, the Levites in turn gave their best tenth for their tenth, 1% to the priests who ministered at the altar. Yahweh was their unique inheritance and their unique part. The tithe ended there. Priests did not tithe, for obvious reasons. This is also not taught today. While priests were not commanded to tithe, they were eventually expected to give free will vow offerings in Malachi 1:7-14. The main income of priests was not from tithes, it was from free will offerings. Numbers 18, Olaf, and Nehemiah 10:35-38. Today all believers are priests. 1 Peter 2:9-10 and Revelations 5:10. And priests did not tithe. This fact should have a profound impact on post-Calvary giving principles. Recalled Israel, the remnant. First letter of Keph, or 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 9 and 10. Now ye are a chosen tribe, a kingdom priesthood, a pure nation of people for an acquisition, so that ye might celebrate the manly valours of the one who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. You are of those who once were, lo ami, not my people, but now are Yahweh's people, those who were, lo rachma, not pitied, but now receive compassion. The word of Yahweh's disclosure to Yakahanan, or Revelations, chapter 5, verse 10. You did not make them kings and priests and you did make them kings and priests for our power El, and they shall reign over the earth. Also seen in Songs or Psalms 132, 11-12. Gideon noticed that in these verses, the priests are the ones that collected a tenth from the people, while all faithful ones that call on his name are part of the royal priesthood, according to 1 Peter 2:9. So since we are all priests, then should all true believers collect a tithe? After all, that is what these verses tell us, that the law requires priests to do, but collect a tithe from whom? Each other? But priests don't have to tithe, instead they are the ones who collect a tithe. Modern thinking ideas and verses lead to a doctrine paradox. But thankfully, if we read a few verses on, then our heads will stop hurting, since we discover that we are not under the law of the 623 of them, the Mosaic law, but we have been loosed by these laws. Obviously, the commandments are still good. He said he come to he come to not do away with the law, but to accomplish it, which he's obviously accomplished a lot of these laws. But so anyway, we're looking at 1 Moshe, Bereshith, or Genesis, Abraham's victory, because this is another common verse used about what Abraham gave to Melchizedek. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, then he emptied out his experienced men who were born of his house. And he pursued as far as Dan, and he went against them at night, he and his servants, and he defeated them, and he pursued as far as Shovah, hiding place, which is northwards of Damascus, and he brought back all of the possessions, and even Lot his brother, and his possessions he brought back, and also the women and the people. Then the king of Shaphan came out from the tar cisterns to meet him after his return from defeating Kephala, Olmeh, and the kings which were with him. To the valley of the level plain is the valley of the king, as seen in Yashar 16:10-12. And verse 18, and Melchi Tesek, the king of Shalem, is who brought out bread and wine, and he was a priest for the supreme power. And he blessed him, and he said, blessed is Avram of the supreme power, the one purchasing the heavens and the earth, and blessed is the supreme power that he has delivered up for oppression into your hand. And he, Avram, gave to him Melchizedek, a tenth from everything. But as you see, this was from a battle. He gave a tenth of everything from a pagan battle. So unless you wish to start a battle and go give your plunderings to your pastor as a tithe, which I think you'll give him a heart attack when you explain where they've come from, still does not grant that because of the one tithe he made, that's the only one tithe seen in Scripture, there is a command for us today to give a tithing. You're free to give, but from what tithing was in Scripture, you won't be judged if you did not give a 10% portion of your money to the assembly, for it was never money, it was never gold, it was never jewelry. What they gave was they gave crops and they gave animals. So unless you want to still stick to this and take a lamb in and throw it up on the altar for the for your pastor, slaughter it for him, go ahead. You may not want you in the assembly anymore, but honestly that's what they did. It was all food, it was all crops. But yeah, you're free to give if you wish, but it's not a necessity. Remember how Yahushua paid a lot of the old laws. May you ask Yahweh if tithing is for us all. Praise to Yahweh, Yahushua. The letter to the infant of Paulus, Hebrews chapter 3, verses no, I didn't include the verses, sorry. And Yahushua the house builder is over the house. Therefore, my pure brothers, share of the calling of the heavens, fully discern this delegate and high priest of our profession, the anointed Yahushua, being reliable to the one having appointed him, and also Moshe with all his house. Yet this one has been counted worthy of more honour than Moshe, just as much as how he who built a house possesses more value than his house. For every house is built by someone, but he who builds all things is the mighty ones. And Moshe indeed was loyal with all his house, as a menial attendant for a testimony of the things going to be spoken. But the anointed in this manner of the Son is over his house, whose house we are, if indeed we should keep firmly held the boldness and the boasting of his hope until the conclusion. So it's up to you if you wish to give a tithing, but honestly, it's not a command of the post-Advent Scriptures. It was a Levitical command for Israel, and it's certainly seen there in Scripture. But honestly, you can look up these passages and make your own informed decision from that. Thank you so much for listening. May Yahushua bless you. May you be blessed like I am blessed. Thank you for watching, and until next time.